Hey, busy lady. My name is Caitlin Mark, licensed dietitian, and I want to help you find good health by returning to God's good, intelligent design. The goal of this podcast is to dig into how our bodies have been designed to work using the Bible and trustworthy research so that you can diet simply and sustainably. Let's get into today's episode. This episode is the last in the series of guidelines that I use with my clients that I believe are necessary to attain good health. In episode 2 through 5, we talked about guidelines related to mindset. And now in the last two episodes and this episode, we're talking about fundamental beliefs for attaining good health. If you missed the last two episodes, I definitely recommend listening to those first because this episode will build off those two. I want to put forth the theory that God's design for the body was created with the knowledge of and in response to his design for food, and vice versa. So unlike God, we, man, have a very limited knowledge and understanding of how the world works. When we alter things in the natural design of food, it changes how the body responds to the food. And this, I believe, is a major cause of the obesity, the cardiovascular disease, the diabetes, autoimmune conditions, the food sensitivities we see today, is because man has manipulated food and it has changed the natural design of the food. Let me give you an example of man-made food. So today's wheat has been unnaturally altered via forced breeding and genetic modification. So my question, and what I've been thinking about the past few years, is what if the changes we've made to wheat has altered something in the wheat that our bodies actually can't recognize the wheat anymore? This might actually be why we're seeing rises in gluten insensitivities. Now, there is research out there that shows that there are DNA differences between heirloom wheat and modern wheat that we have today. Some research also shows that the DNA from genetically modified wheat can transfer to the bacteria in our gut. Now, the exact issues that come about with that DNA transfer are not quite known yet, but it's interesting to note that maybe this might be why we're seeing a lot of gluten insensitivities today. Let me give you another example. Supplements are isolated nutrients that are taken from food. So when we take those nutrients from natural food, how can we expect the nutrients to act outside the food like they do within the food? When we take nutrients out of their natural habitats, it might be that they act differently. Maybe we need more or less of them than if we ate them in their natural habitats. Or maybe they are actually rendered somewhat inactive or maybe completely inactive. We don't really know what happens when we take nutrients from their natural habitats and their natural food. It really hasn't been researched very much. We just kind of assume that the iron in oatmeal is going to act the same as if we take that iron out of the oatmeal and put it in a supplement form. All this to say, we don't understand how when man alters the natural God-given design of food, we don't know how those alterations will affect us, especially our health in the long term. I know this can be overwhelming and may leave you asking, well then what foods should we eat because isn't everything changed in some way? Simply put, try to eat God-made food over man-made food. So when you're at the grocery store, ask yourself if the food you're about to put in your grocery basket is the closest you can afford, money-wise, time-wise, to God-made food. Or when you're looking at a menu, ask yourself which food on the menu is the closest to God-made food. Now, I can go on and on about this topic, but we'll be digging more into what God-made food is later on. When we get to specific foods, the conversation can kind of get long, so I want to keep this episode short. But in summary, God-made food is going to be the best for our bodies because I believe God created our bodies and the food he's given us to eat to work together for us to have good health. Therefore, the best health that we can attain will be by eating God-made food, not man-made food. That sums up this episode. If anything is unclear, go to the blog post for this podcast episode. Leave me a comment on that blog post and I will clear it up for you. Also, if this is a topic that interests you, I will dig deeper into this topic in future episodes. I just wanted to keep this guideline simple so that you could understand the fundamental belief here that God-made food is better than man-made food. And then we'll get more specific into wheat or meat or other foods that we eat in later episodes. Hey friend, real quick, if you enjoyed this episode, then I think you would also enjoy our free private community. Head over to community.yourplatewithkate.com, link in the show notes, to learn more about our free private community. See you in the next episode.